Hey guys, welcome to an Idiot Mods Skyrim Part 16, Let There Be Light, in mods. No explanation needed here, let's go straight along to the Nexus and make a start. And the first mod for your consideration is Enhanced Lights and Effects by Amorpheus. And this is the one I have been using in my playthrough so far. Under the description, the mod author describes this as enhanced lighting and effects has the goal to create a more dramatic and realistic mood to the Skyrim lights by adding lights to all light sources and removing any light without a source, as well as the addition of many effects like smoke, volumetric light, ripples, etc. I have made some friendly redesigns as needed too, and some redesigns for more dramatic looking. This mod will look better than any mods or EMB that darkens interiors. And there is a list of features of how this mod is installed in modules. There is the Enhanced Lighting and Effects ESP that handles all light sources, new candle smoke, water reflections, translucent effects, adds more shadows, adds unique sets of lights to all inns and city interiors, enhances the difference between night and day in an interior, darker and smoky taverns, and a slight to no FPS loss. Well, we're going to be running all these mods with an FPS counter in the top left corner, just so we can have a look. There is also an ELFX Enhancer ESP that darkens interiors in general. Don't need to go any further on that one. There is also an ELFX Hardcore mode that has its own ESP that carries over everything that the normal ELFX Enhancer does, but makes all non-human inhabited areas really dark. There is also an Exterior ESP and a Weather ESP, and apparently also now enhances ice. Installation is handled by a mod manager, so either Nexus mod manager or mod organizer, and there is a video guide here by Gamer Poets. If we're using mod organizer, I think we should be okay. And then we have compatibilities, and it does look like it's going to be pretty much compatible with everything we've got. The only problem we might have is the ELFX weathers that might have some problems with purity. Other than that, I think we're done here. So let's go along to files and get this one downloaded. And there is only one file, so download with manager. Yes, we have Dawnguard and Dragonborn. Continue with my download. So the second option for today is Realistic Lighting Overhaul by the Realistic Lighting team. Both these mods have been kept reasonably well up to date and enhanced since I was last using them. So once we look at the description, we get Realistic Lighting Overhaul, or RLO, is the fourth iteration of the popular lighting mod Realistic Lighting without post-processing. It is a complete overhaul of the game's lighting system and one of the most comprehensive lighting mods available for Skyrim. And once again they've made thousands of changes and cover many bases. They've done a very similar job to what Enhanced Lighting and Effects do. Once again, we are GPU friendly. They also have adaptive interiors, so like ELFX, if it's light outside, it will be slightly different interior lighting to when it's dark outside. They also do things with spells, realistic eye adaptation, so if you look at a light and then look away, it'll take a few seconds for your eyesight to clear up. It also carries over some of the fixes from the unofficial patches, such as the shadow striping fix, fake interior fog is removed. Once again, we have modular installation. I think we are done here. I know I'm going through these pretty quick guys, but they do a very similar job to each other. So let's go along to files. We'll get the download with manager version as it has an installer. And it looks like there is an update with an optional fix that they recommend a manual installation for. Well, for the time being, we'll just go with the main file, and if we decide to stay with it, we'll see if we need to download this one and see what fixes we get. And the third mod for today comes at this from a different angle, and it's Relighting Skyrim by Dovak Dalton and Jorzy. And this one doesn't do darkening down of interiors at all. All it does is replace the lighting. If you look at the images up here, that's without the mod, and you'll notice there's a subtle difference with it. There's more light being cast by this candelabra up here. The fire is casting a more realistic shadow from this chair. So what do we do about the darkness? Well, we'll get to that in a second. Let's just read the introduction. where the mod author states, "Throughout this game I was bothered by the lighting, be it the fires in Dragon's Reach, outside High Hrothgar, or many other places that make no light. Tons of places where light emits from the centre of two fires rather than from each one, or just in the middle of the room. Occasionally necessary, but the vast majority are fixed, as well as the fires outside that don't light the landscape around it. This mod aims to fix all that, making all light come straight from the light source, and have all light sources make light." And then he says that he was really just going to do it for himself, and then decided that he had a few people that liked it, so I passed it on to all of us. It looks like there is two versions of this mod. There is one with GIT and one without GIT, and GIT is just-in-time lighting script. And with JIT it offers more light bulbs and non-shadow light bulbs without causing any visual bugs, and then without it there are no scripts, just vanilla light bulbs done right. As I said, what are we going to do about the darkness? So if we come down under compatibility, you'll notice that it is not compatible with either Realistic Lighting Overhaul or the Enhanced Lighting Effects, both of which we've just downloaded. However, it is compatible with the ELFX enhancer that is in ELFX. And if I remember correctly, doesn't the ELFX enhancer just deal with the darkness? Just brings everything down. So what I'm going to do when I'm testing these is I'll probably run a vanilla scene first, then I'll do Realistic Lighting Overhaul, then I'll do Enhanced Lighting and Effects, and then I'll use the ELFX enhancer with this mod and see if we can see any difference and see which one does it best. So let's go along to Files. Now see if we don't know exactly how this is going to work, I think I'm going to download both versions. So let's do Relighting Skyrim, the smaller version, and the one without the just-in-time fix. And the final mod for today isn't a lighting mod, although it does help with some of the problems that they can create, and it's Skyrim Project Optimization by Gabrielle 15. The mod author states that this mod was started as an attempt to improve the performance losses in some interiors when using Realistic Lighting Overhaul. Initially it was called Occlusion Culling Performance Patch, or OCPP, and was on the RLO page, but then they decided to expand things. It's under the how it works that gets interesting, as the mod author has used a feature called Occlusion Culling, where they've manually placed occlusion planes in some spots in interiors to improve performance. What these occlusion planes do is unrender parts of the cell that are not being seen by the player. In most cases these will be behind a wall or above or below floors, so they are occluded out of your view. And this is something that Skyrim already does. All they've done is increase the occlusion planes so that there is less things to render, and in doing so the resources that will be used for rendering the things you can't see anyway are handed back to you in the form of frames per second. And there is a full list of the places that they've done. They have also done some of the custom homes. This mod is apparently compatible with pretty much any other mod out there. They do have a recommended place where it should be in your load order, which looks like just after all the official stuff, so I would say just after the unofficial patches, but before anything that changes things like weather. And they do have several mods that they recommend to work with this. You'll no doubt recognise Realistic Lighting Overhaul, Enhanced Lighting and Effects, and Relighting Skyrim, as well as Pure Waters, which went on to become Purity. So I think we're done here. Let's go along to the files, and there are a lot of files here. It looks like they've covered every base, so if you're using just Skyrim, there's one for you. If you're just using Skyrim and either Dawnguard or Dragonborn, then you download the appropriate files. I'm going to download the Project Optimization full version, so download with Manager. Although if you're using a customized home in Skyrim, there is the standalone Skyrim and the full version, both with no homes. So if you use a custom home, you'll want to use those. And there is some miscellaneous files that are some of the custom homes. Yours may be here. You might want to check back on the mods page just to see if it is still compatible with this mod. Right, so that's everything we need downloaded. Let's go on to Mod Organizer and get them installed. So let's go on to downloads. I believe these are standard installs. Probably got installs along the way. So let's start with ELFX and double click. And And we have an installer, and now we get to choose a few things along the way. The main or ambient settings. Do we want the darkened interiors or do we want the hardcore darkened interiors? Well, I'm going to be using the ELFX enhancer version because that's the one I also need to work with relighting Skyrim. I also want the ELFX exteriors. I'm going to select the ELFX weathers, and there's reasons behind that. I'll explain more when we've installed all these. And I also want the ELFX enhanced ice. Next, at the moment I'm not using SMIM. That's to come, so I'll have to reinstall this mod if I start using that. I don't have the moon path to elsewhere, and I'm not using any custom homes, so I can click next. I don't want ELFX weathers for EMB because I'm not using one, and I want candle smoke, so I can now install. The next one is realistic lighting overhaul. Double click. Once again, we have an installer. I'm going to click custom because that way we can pick exactly what we install. Next. Major city interiors. I'm not using custom homes, so major city interiors is fine. Major city exteriors. Dungeons. I don't want brighter dungeons, I want darker ones. Realistic lighting weathers. Yes, don't want brighter nights. And I want minor city and town interiors and dawn guard and adaptive vanilla interiors, and install. And now it comes to relighting Skyrim. Do we want the version without the just in time or the one with? I'm going to use the one with just to see what these flickering lights are like. So double click. This is the one with just in time. This is the one without scripts. And that's just exteriors only, so I want the full main version by the look of things. And next, and we want Dawnguard, Hearthfires and Dragonborn, and that's it. Now I just want to go into enhanced lighting and effects and see what the ESPs we have. Yeah, so we have the ELFX enhancer. So what I'm going to do is when we use the relighting Skyrim, I'll just knock the ELFX exteriors, weathers and the enhanced lighting and effects ESPs off in the plugins list and activate the relighting Skyrim ones, and that way we can see how it looks with just the enhancer. So we can close that now. Don't think we need to install the Skyrim project optimization now. The reason for that is I want to run this with a FPS counter on anyway, and that way if we have a drop in FPS we can then try this, and if it is improved then it works. If I install it now I won't know if it's working or not because my FPS will be affected by how this works anyway. So we'll leave that off for the time being. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and use my totally vanilla load order and change this to Skyrim. So when I now engage one of these mods, so enhanced lighting and effects, realistic lighting overhaul, or the relighting with the ELFX enhancer, I'll be able to tell that it's just these mods that are doing the changes and not things like purity or anything else. It will also mean there's nothing else affecting the FPS. So before I enable any of these mods I need to do some vanilla tests and do some videos with those. So I'll go do those now and we'll discuss how we're going to test as we go along. Right, so we're going to start off in Whiterun up at Dragon's Reach. The time is 1:37 PM. All these tests will be done at the exact same time because we're using this save in all of them. So it's all going to be a little after 1:30. So the sun's still high in the sky, so it's coming streaming through these windows here, and over here as well, and not to mention down here and here. So there is a lot of light in here. It's still a little bit too bright, but it's justifiable I suppose. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start all these compares in the exact same place. So this is a save I've used. We will all be starting at a little after 1:30. I'm going to stay here for a few seconds staring into Ilya's eyes, and then I'll merge things across. So we'll start with realistic lighting overhaul, and the frame rate counter will show any effects we have. I will also then use enhanced lighting and effects, and ELFX enhancer with the Relighting Skyrim mod included. Right, so here we are in Dragon's Reach, and Bayek is a lot darker in here. Ilia is being illuminated by the fire behind me, and the light that's coming in through these windows up here is only lighting up the areas around them. The same with these windows here and here. When we look, the fire is illuminating this area of the room, but even where there's candles on the table over there, it's only illuminating that area. Right. Right, so this is enhanced lighting and effects. It's a fair bit brighter than RLO. It seems warmer too. Oh, that might just be me, because I'm not seeing them back to back like you. Then doing all these run throughs, then going back and doing the next light source. There's plenty of light coming in up there. Not so much through the windows here, but you can see there's light streaming in here and here. Guessing there's windows there and there looking at the frames. Right, so this is the Relighting Skyrim with the just-in-time script running and the ELFX enhancer to give us some darkness. It's a very bright light. These fires are casting out a whole lot of bright light. What happened there? We found a dead spot. Looks like we may have found a dead spot. Do like the bright lights from the candles. And it is bright outside, so that explains why there's some lightness up there. But yeah, that's quite nice. Right. Let's wait a few hours. So here we are, it's a little after 8 o'clock at night. We've still got quite a bit of light streaming in through the windows here. But it isn't that much darker in here considering there is less light outside. Yeah, looks a lot gloomier down there now where the moonlight is coming in through the windows. Those candles are giving off very little light. Only to the beam really above them, if anything. Yep, I like this one. Right, so there is still moonlight coming in through the windows.
Have you reconsidered my idea?
I haven't changed my mind at that.
A little bit more light coming off the candelabras than there were.
Defenseless, even for a day.
If we sent half our guards
because with RLO, I'm sure it was darker over there.
It could tip the
Anyway,
scales in the
back to earlier for a few seconds.
The companions can help protect the city.
Right, so once again with the relighting, a bit darker outside. The candles are giving off quite a lot of light. And we still have this bug. It's a shame because, I mean, you can see that's with just the ALFX enhancer. When you add the lights to it, it does add. It's weird, look at this place here when I move across to where the fault is. It lights up, and then when I move it away, it darkens down again. So it's too bright there and light enough there.
Lords, but
does that make sense?
For a moment
Strange.
I don't take my duties
Anyway,
as seriously
let's carry on.
as the
Right, so
young.
this is Whiterun, just outside Dragon's Reach. It's just before 9 o'clock at night, so we've just come straight out of where we were. Let's go on to the end of here. Now, that top step there is well known as being a resource hog, and will normally show up any frame rate drops. I'll go for a wander there. I will look out over Whiterun. I'm going to pick myself a point of focus, so I'll do it on the top of there so I know what I'm looking at. And we can just now check to see what the braziers look like, how dark or light it is. Bear in mind I'm going to be using the weather built into the lighting mods rather than using purity. And then I will use...
Need supplies? See Bellathor at his store. He's lazy little man, but he has good stock.
Do you mind, guard? I'm talking to the people at home. Are you going to stand there all day? Alright, off you go. So I'm getting a bit of frame rate problems now. It's dropping down to the 57 area. 56, oh my god, dropped that low. Right, so once again, this is realistic lighting overhaul. There's quite a large frame rate drop now. We're losing about 10 frames. But it is a little bit darker. The flames are definitely acting more like light sources than just being ornamental. Well, we're climbing back up now, 50s, mid 50s frame rate, not too bad. Night seems darker. Light is different again. Were those braziers off to the right hand side there before? Those three. Can't remember if I saw them in realistic lighting or the vanilla, but they
have a lot of
are very
respect for the
bright,
restorations.
but only in that area.
Skyrim could use more healers.
Frame rate is about the same as with realistic lighting overhaul. And the guard walking down here does give us a nice light source to bounce off. Being better if you cast a shadow like. And the frame rate is not doing brilliant, 45-ish. Not excellent. We were up higher than that before, weren't we? The light looks a lot less bright than it did with the ELFX by itself. And the braziers that were over there have now been removed. They must have been added by ELFX itself.
Need supplies? See Bellathor at his store. Sleazy little man, but he has good stock.
Yeah, I agree with what you say about Bellathor. Are you going to walk past me now so I can have a look at my frame rate as you go? Off you go. We're getting a shadow from somewhere. But not from the brazier he just passed. Is there a moon up? I can't see one. So we are in one of the first places you come to as part of the main quest. Why those guys on the far end can't see me, it's that bright in here. It is, well, nearly 10 o'clock in the morning, so that explains why we have bright light outside. But it doesn't explain why we have bright light everywhere in here. Surely there should be some dark corners over there where we can see. Let's take these guys out. Then we can go for a wander and see how that fire is casting shadows. Right, so it's still quite bright in here, thanks to daylight outside. But we have lots and lots of dark corners to hide in. In here is not as dark as I was expecting. Let's stand up and take these bad guys out. So yeah, considering I know it's very bright out there. It is 10 o'clock in the morning, so it does explain why it is bright out here. But where have I got some dark shadows over here? So yeah, there's plenty of room to hide actually thinking about it. Right, so it's still bright in here. Not really much of a change from the ALFX version. So let's just go for a wander down this far end. Take these guys out first. I'll use this skeever as a marker. Look at the fire. See how things look. Yeah, it definitely seems more gloomy in here. There is only light coming from the radius of the fire. Yeah, we have got some dark areas around here. One of the main reasons I came here at this time of day is I wanted to see if the light would have any effect on the far end of this chamber. So it does explain why it is so bright on that end. I think it's a bit too bright, nearly vanilla on that end, but this end is nice and dark. Once again, not really much of a change here from the ELFX to the relighting. Although I think the light is that tiny bit whiter. I don't know if it's coming across in the video, but it is ever so much whiter. I'm going to go a little bit further in here. Down here there is no light at all. Very little light in the alcoves there, only what's coming directly from the brazier. And I can't even see my spec for where I'm supposed to be looking at to tally up these videos. Wonder why those two candles are lighting everything down there. Once again, it's just a white light more than anything else down there. So now we're down at Windhelm, just outside, is it Candlehearth Hall? It is 7:20 in the evening, so there's no sunlight about. We've got quite a heavy snowfall. Right, that seems a little bit darker than it was before. The fire gives off quite a nice light. It's not very bright though. It seems very muted in the snow. Well, that's quite different. It's brighter but darker and illuminated. I quite like that. So once again, Candlehearth Hall. It does look nice in this light. And the light from that fire is quite bright lighting up there. So where is this light that's coming through the windows streaming from? There was no light outside. I don't think it's believable that these few horn candles can throw off this much light. Yep, it's a lot darker in here now. The light they're giving off is more subtle, it's there, giving you a little bit of light, but not like it was. Looks nice and bright around the hearth fire there. And there's no light from outside streaming through the windows. A little bit of moonlight maybe, but not like it was. Yeah, it's a little bit brighter in here. Colours look a bit more natural. Frame rate has taken a tanking. I didn't notice where that was on RLO. But yeah, that's taken quite a tank in here for this one. But it is believable light in here. That light is... that candle's lighting his head up. There's a little bit of light coming out from outside, mainly moonlight. Remember how bright it was outside. 20s, upper 20s. Not so good. It's dark in here without being too dark. There's plenty of light coming off of the candles there. I think because there is so many light sources in here. I mean, every room, every table's got a candle look. And there's fires and candles around the far side. Well, I think we found our place to test the optimization, because if it can optimize this place, we might have some fun with this mod. Right, so once again, back inside the tomb. I chose this one because it's one of those that sticks out in my brain, because there was some excellent lighting to be seen in here if it's done right. Not that I'm saying vanilla does. So once again, one brazier, and every single bit of this room is lit. Now this seems like a whole different place. Plenty of areas to hide. So it's different again. There is a fault there I've noticed. In the shadow just there, that seems a bit strange. Not going to argue too much, but yeah, there's a little bit of problem there. But yeah. Yeah, I think that shadow error there must be to do with the ALFX rather than the lighting mod. because it's in the same place twice, and the only thing that's the same is the LFX enhancer. So it's got to be from that really, because that's the shadow from the brazier, isn't it, that relighting's casting. I do like the way it just drifts off nicely. You see what I mean about dark adding atmosphere to the game?
I've got a bad feeling about this.
So have I. So have I. Look over here. And then out here. Because that's it. There's too much light considering the light sources. I know you can see it pulsing and flickering off of that brazier back there. But surely there should be some darkness in this room. Particularly down there. Down there. I know I have another light source there, so that explains why those are lit up there. Yep. Now those fire pits are only putting out enough to light the areas where they are and casting very dark shadows. Same across here. The problem that realistic lighting overhaul may have is that it may be good for playing with at home, but if you're going to video it, I think enhanced lighting and effects just has that edge. There is a slight difference I think between this and the LFX. I think the LFX is just too yellowish almost, yeah? Too warm. This is quite glowy but not in the same way. We've got another error, we have, haven't we? Eh dear, it's a shame. If you look, it's casting a shadow there and then it isn't when I look towards where she is. Does that persist? Does it always? Obviously I don't get too close to that trap. He said setting it off and poisoning himself. But yeah, it does seem to be a lot in that area. Anyway, on to the next bit. I'll sneak at this point because I know there's bad guys about. I'm a coward. I do like these really dark areas between light sections. And I didn't even see them till they stepped into the light. Now you really will have to watch out for that pad. Nice grouping if I do say so myself.
Can't get it open.
Right, some more bad guys in here. Where's your friend? So you can see the bright spike in the guy that Ilya killed, but that's the only thing that's highlighting right now. And the guy that's down here, I believe he's just over here, you can't see him at all. The lever's illuminated nicely by the candles, but nothing else is. And there's plenty of rooms to hide all around the outside edge of this room. Yep, it's definitely danker in here. Once again, Ilya's ice spike illuminates the guy in the distance, but the candles here are doing just a nice little job of warming up the area around here. You can barely make out the guy that's dead there. I don't know how it's coming across on video, but you can see him. Definite proof of Ilya's handiwork in the background. But The candlelight is nice, illuminating the posts here. Our friend in the corner here who's dead, we can't see him again. I can just about make him out on my screen, so it's probably darker on the video. That's one of the things I'm going to have to be aware of, is that because I'm videoing for you guys, anything that's dark gets darkened down when I render it, and then when you upload it to YouTube it makes it even worse. So I don't want to be totally dark. I know I'll be using night eye quite a lot, so that'll help in some areas. So yeah, you can see the dead bodies. The lights in there aren't casting out that much light, surely. Let's move on. Back in the snake.
Can't say that I have.
Quiet.
More bad guys. Right, so this is the main reason I came in here. This brazier layout should be throwing out a fair bit of light, but I don't think it should be throwing out this much light. Should I be able to see that far wall or not? I don't know. We need to have this light around to justify us seeing that far end. So once again, I'm going to save here. I know it's bright in here, but it does seem justified with the amount of light we've actually got going on up in the roof. If you look, there's light going up to illuminate the arch here, but it stops before it gets to the roof and does come down. No major shadows where each of the braziers is overlapping, and we can see the far end because there's braziers on the side light in that. And this I like. It's not as bright as it was with RLO, but it seems, I don't know, it seems clearer for some reason. It's weird. I just love this scene. There's something about this place that's rather nice. I do like the way that far wall's illuminated by those braziers just up there. There's a little bit of fire in there, and that fire there is illuminating the front of this face, and everything else is just illuminated by, is it what, one or two of these running? I thought there were more of these running with the ELFX. So there's only the one, but it's casting quite a nice ring of light without being too strong. Right, so we're in an ice cave, and I do seem to have a problem with these. They always seem to be a little bit jerky on my machine. Now if you keep an eye on that frame rate in the top left hand corner, you'll notice that it's locked at 60 at the moment and doesn't really drop, considering how jittery the frame rate is. So this already feels like a different beast. Still at 60, which is nice. I do like the way the light plays on the walls. This is dark. And why is this so bright with the one light? It's a lot darker in here now. It's dark outside, there's no light coming through there. Where's our light source gone? It was there. Something below us, but nothing above us. What is weird, even though the frame rate seems a bit jittery, it hasn't dropped from 60, has it? Do you like the way the candles only give out a small amount of light, and yet the ice is picking it up? It's a lot darker with arrow low. Right, so we'll just go down here to this last comparison site and then we'll have a think about what we're going to do next. Yes, this looks a whole lot darker now. The only light coming from where there is light sources. So that's realistic lighting overhaul. I am going to have to see how this compares on video, but at the moment I am liking this a lot. My only problem now is that relighting Skyrim only does the lights, so there's possibilities that it may get better still. I don't know if you've noticed, it is just ever such a slight increase in light. It's not a massive increase, it's just that little bit more. Still, I've got a few ideas I want to test. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and install the optimizer and use the ELFX enhancer with relighting Skyrim. Go back to Candlehearth Hall and have a look, see if we can make some improvements. What I've also done is I've installed the relighting Skyrim No GIT edition. As you can see, it's here, and I went and tested to see if it still had the same faults that we were showing in the video, and they were still there. One thing I did notice is that this version has a legendary install as well as the separates, so I think that's the reason why there was two. One is just an older version and the new one with no GIT is the latest version. So now that's done anyway, let's just install Skyrim Project Optimization. Double click, then I'm going to engage both parts and then press manual. We have no data on the top level. Click to highlight, right click, set as data directory, full version ASM, click OK. And before we enable it, I just want to have a look in the files. Nope, there's only the ASM in there, that's fine. We can now enable that, and I will enable the relighting Skyrim. Go to my plugins, and you'll see we have all of VLFX and the whole of relighting Skyrim engaged here. I want to knock off the enhanced lighting effects, the exteriors and the weathers. I'm going to put the enhancer below relighting Skyrim. We have got a warning, and I know that the guy who created Mod Organizer said if you get a warning, smack the person that tells you to ignore it. We're going to have to ignore it if we want to do this test. It won't do any harm, and this is the way I was running all those tests with relighting Skyrim. So I think we're okay. If this is getting too much of a hassle, we can change its masters using TS5 edit. But for the time being, I can leave it with this warning. It won't cause a crash, it will just load without a problem. Let's go out to Candlehearth Hall and see if it makes any improvement. Right, so looking at it, we are still in the mid-20s. Now I did do some research and made sure that Candlehearth Hall was one of those that was covered in the mod. The guy had actually gone in and done the work in here, and it hasn't really made that much of an improvement to me at the moment. If you are experimenting with it and it's working for you, then that's great, but for me it just doesn't seem to be working at the moment. As I did say in the video, ELFX or this mod seem to add a whole lot more light sources in here. I did notice when I was looking back through the video, relighting overhaul didn't have these lights on the tables at all. As a matter of fact, I could hardly see that guy that was sat there when we first started this scene. So yeah, with that information, I think I may be swapping over to realistic lighting overhaul. I'm not sure. Right now guys, I think I've taken up enough of your time. If this has helped, give us a like, write us a comment, let us know which lighting mod you're going with, and if the optimization worked for you. A big thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
So what's the news on the street, Captain?